Good morning, students. Today we will move on to the second stanza of the poem The Trees. The first stanza we have discussed about the previous lecture. Before moving on, let's discuss briefly about the first stanza. In the first stanza, we have discussed that the trees inside the house of the poetess were going to the forest. Why they were going to the forest? Because they were kept inside the house of the poetess. They want to separate themselves. They want to release themselves. Why? Because their natural habitat is forest. So they were going to the forest. Let's move on to the next stanza. All night the roots work to disengage themselves from the cracks. What is the meaning of disengage? Disengage means separate. The poet is saying, all night the roots work. Throughout the night, the roots are working. Why they are working? To separate themselves. From where they want to separate? They want to separate themselves from the cracks in the veranda floor. The cracks in the veranda of the poetess, the roots are there. So they want to separate themselves. That's why they are working hard. So that they can move to the forest. Next, the leaves strain toward the glass. Even the leaves are working hard to support the roots and trees to move on. The leaves strain. What is the meaning of strain? You can say pressure. Leaves are giving pressure toward the glass window. Why? Because through the glass window they have to move out. Small twigs, small branches you can say. Small twigs of the trees is stiff. What is the meaning of stiff? Rigid. You can say hard. You can say firm. The tips have become stiff with the exertion. What is the meaning of exertion? Labor. As the tips are doing labor, they are working hard to go outside. That's why they have become hard and firm. Long cramped balls. What is the balls? Big branches. Big branches. Balls means big branches of the trees. Shuffling, you can say stagger. Under the roof. Like newly discharged patients. Half dazed. What is the meaning of half dazed? Unconscious. Half conscious, you can say. Moving to the clinic doors. Let's discuss. All night the roots work to disengage themselves from the cracks in the veranda floor. As we have mentioned, that the tree or the roots are working to separate themselves from the veranda floor of the poetess, to separate from the cracks all the things of the trees like leaves, twigs, even long cramped balls, all are working. Leaves are giving pressure toward the glass. Small twigs have become hard and firm due to exertion. Long cramped balls shuffling under the roof. Big branches are staggering to go outside, but there is a roof. That's why they are staggering. They are staggering like newly discharged patients. They are compared to the newly discharged patient. Half days moving to the clinic doors. As the patients in the hospital, when they are discharged, they are not fully recovered. They are weak. That's why when they go to the house, they move slowly. Okay, they move half consciously because they have not power. Like that, as the leaves are straining, twigs are stiff, and boughs are shuffling, that's why they are compared to the newly discharged patients. Look at the stanza. Okay, let's discuss the poetic devices used in the poem. There's all night the roots work. The roots are inanimate things. The poet is showing that they are working. How can the roots work? So there is personification. When there is personification, when inanimate things, abstract ideas are given human qualities. Okay, there is leaves strain. The leaves are giving pressure. There is also personification. Long camp balls shuffling. There is also personification. And patients and trees. Trees are compared to patient. There is a like to, so there is simply. When there is simply, when there is a comparison between two things of different kinds, in which at least one point is common, and they are introduced by the comparison words such as like. So there is like as a comparison of trees and patients. So there is simply. There are two mainly poetic devices: personification in the three lines, and there is simile. I hope you are getting there. Let's move on to the questions. Before moving to the questions, be- before moving to the questions, let's recap the stanza. Hmm. In the stanza, the poet is saying that the trees are working hard. Even the trees, their roots, their twigs, their balls, their leaves are working to separate themselves from the veranda cracks. Okay. Now, there are questions from the stanza that you have to write the answer. The first question, why do the roots work all night? The second one, the third one,